Hello and welcome to Wingin It. And we're back again here with some more Wingspan tournament gameplay. We've got some post-commentary here from our final 8 match in the Zadie Zebrafinch Zoo. So yeah, into the quarterfinal stage, very, very close towards the end of this tournament. The winner of this best of 3 is going to go into the semi-final. So that is definitely going to be our aim here. But it is going to be far from easy. Once you get to this stage of the tournament, it is only very, very strong players remaining. So yeah, we're jumping here into this game 1. We are going first, and we'll take a look at our starting hand, and it is not looking too shabby at all. We've got the housefinch, which is always very, very nice. One of those birds that was kind of amazing even before Oceania. It was really good on the baseboards, and of course with the European expansion as well. With the expansion of more tucking powers, definitely got just as good, or if not better, through that expansion. And yeah, here in Oceania, really, really strong power still. These tuck and draw birds. I'm definitely going to be looking at keeping that. And we've got the white-faced heron as well as another option. So yeah, another really good power. This one is from Oceania. A very, very good wetland bird. Get that down. Start getting some cash food. Definitely much better than the hunting powers that we're used to from the base game and European expansion. So yeah, I'm feeling like here, housefinch is going to go in the forest. And we're going to start taking some food. And the plan is to keep an extra card just to tuck, just to cycle. Of course, if I keep the heron and I keep the housefinch, I can only keep 4 food now with that starting nectar. That's not enough to get them both down, so I would have to take food before being able to play the heron as the second bird. So yeah, if I keep the housefinch, keep the vulture, I can play the housefinch turn 1. The plan here probably, I would say, is to keep the nectar just in case. I mean, we have got a very friendly bird feeder here. Lots of nectar, we've got some worms as well, which the heron will eat. But if I can just keep a bit of flexibility on that, then yeah, just increases my chances of being able to get the heron down. And then I think it's simple. We play the heron and we start drawing. See what cards we can get from the deck, of course. More forest birds, exactly what we're going to be looking for. Sorting out the egg source is going to be crucial. So we're definitely going to be on the hunt for something like a chipping sparrow or similar. But yeah, this feels like a pretty solid start. And hopefully, yeah, hopefully we can get everything going in this round 1 and get some good stuff to add to what we've already got here in our starting hand. And alright, here coming on to our first turn, you see my opponents, they just get the 2 birds, so maybe not quite so many good birds, but yeah, keeping a bit more flexibility perhaps on their food. But as I say, for us, pretty straightforward. Housefinch is going down, we are saving that nectar, so yeah, that would just help a little bit in terms of being able to get the heron down. I mean, worst case scenario here is my opponent throws one of those cards and takes 2 nectar. I can still get a nectar and a worm. I can still get the heron down. So, yeah, it's sometimes these little things are worth thinking about just to make sure you don't end up getting stuck in a position where, you know, you have to take food 1 extra time, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but it definitely wouldn't be ideal. So, yeah, hopefully it can be all systems go here. And with Platform Builder as the bonus card, I'm sort of looking at this Broadwing Hawk in the tray. I'm thinking, you know, that could potentially be an option. It is still there. Opponent going Spotted Owl as the opening forest bird, so leaving me 2 nectar to go and grab, which is very, very nice. And yeah, Turkey Vulture is going to get tucked. As you see, kind of looking at the tray, looking at the Hawk. We end up going top deck, and it pays off because Carolina Chickadee comes up, and that is going to be a very, very nice bird to add into this forest. So yeah, it does feel like in general, with Oceania, the forest is the way to go. Build up a strong forest engine, centre it around, obviously, tucks with the housefinch, and now some caches with the chickadee, so we're looking strong there. It is going to be about that egg source, so yeah, the glaring difference, the big difference, of course, with these Oceania boards is the weakened grasslands, and so being able to get hold of those eggs is definitely going to be key. But we're going to draw cards first of all, and we're going to find a nuthatch. So yeah, we've got ourselves a chickadee, we've got ourselves a nuthatch. It's looking very, very good here for this forest engine, so I definitely like that. And I also like this heron, which is hitting, giving me a fish. And of course, with this power, you get the choice. Do you want to keep it or do you want to cash it? And ordinarily here, I'd be cashing. No questions asked. Take the point. I'm going forest engine. I'm not going to need the extra food. But what I'm just thinking about here is I'm thinking about the end of round goal. I'm thinking about my final few turns here. And just planning it out in a way where I can get both of these caching birds down. Because they are going to hit this end of round goal. It's important to get them down quickly. And yeah, being able to get them down before I'm taking food too much to really maximize off the number of turns I could use them. So we are going to keep the fish because we're going to take food here. We'll tuck and draw on the nightingale. As you see, still kind of looking at these birds in the tray. I'm just going to keep top decking at this point. So we'll get a green heron, which probably won't get too much usage. But by being able to keep that fish, I can now throw that for 2 eggs. And I can then go ahead and play both the chickadee and the nuthatch with those 2 eggs and set myself going up into the next round. So yeah, just a little bit of thinking, a little bit of planning, a little bit of working out, even at this stage of the game. This is normally the kind of thing I would say you do more in the late game, in sort of late round 3, going into round 4, is planning out your final few turns and making sure that everything, you can do everything that you want to do before the end of the game. But there are situations like this where it's just as important in the early game, and being able to count the turns and work out the correct or optimal sequence of turns is going to be good. So we're going to keep focusing on our plan, but we are going to have to pay a little bit of attention to our opponent here because they did play the Western Meadowlark, which they picked up from the tray using the brand. So that is potentially going to be an egg source for us. The only issue is you have to lay eggs on a ground nest, and we don't have any. So we're not going to get any eggs there, which is a big shame. And yeah, definitely something I'm going to have to think about. Going into round 2, if there's a ground nest bird in the tray, I don't think I can afford to be too picky. I think I'm just going to pick up pretty much whatever I can find. And just make sure I've got a way of getting some eggs, because yeah, that is going to be a big disappointment if my opponent there's getting 2 eggs each time and I'm not getting any. So something to pay attention to. But for now, I'm feeling good. This is really strong. This has been a really solid round 1. We've got a very strong forest setup going on. We're looking really good on this end of round goal. Looking really good for the third end of round goal as well. Birds in 1 row. If we can fill out this forest, it is going to be very, very strong. But there we go. Win that end of round goal. 4 points in the bag. Very, very nice. And we come here into round 2. We do have a ground nest in the tray. Grey-headed mannequin, star nests, count all the same. So if that is there, I'll definitely be picking it up. But that is a very, very strong yellow power. Get to play another bird at the end of the game. And save an egg when you do so. So certainly I imagine my opponent will pick it up. And they do indeed. The bad news for them, however, as they do reveal a white stork, which is maybe not quite as good as it was previous to Oceania, but it is still a very, very nice big point bird. It's got a strong power. It hits my bonus card. So yeah, no questions asked really. Go and pick that up. Really, the only question that is going to be asked is where do I put it? So does that go in the grasslands? And maybe I have a sort of grasslands forest hybrid here where I use the grasslands to lay eggs and get cards. And then, of course, use the forest to get the caches and the tucks and the food. That could definitely work. But equally, it could still go in the wetlands and just really build out the card access. And yeah, let me play more birds later in the game, because I think that's what I'm going to want to do with these end of round goals for sure. But yeah, for now we draw cards because I could gain food, but I would have to skip a tuck on the house finch, which is definitely not ideal. But we do end up finding a blue throat. So again, very nice bird. Maybe not exactly what I'm looking for in this scenario. The power, of course, one of these cult food powers. And I'm not going to be short of food, and my opponent is. So maybe not, yeah, exactly the kind of power I'm looking for, but it's big point bird. Again, it can go in this grasslands maybe if I want to, build something out there. And it's a ground nest, I should say. So with the meadowlark in play, definitely something to consider. But opponent, they play the chipping sparrow. So that's the bird I was looking for. Chipping sparrow would have really just capped off this forest perfectly. But yeah, my opponent finding it definitely gives me something to think about here. Maybe they are not going to be going to the grasslands so much, and maybe they'll rely just on that chipping sparrow. Definitely something to think about. And yeah, I'm just thinking about the birds in this tray. Maybe this rufous owl could be an option. Maybe the carrion crow could be an option. But instead, we're going to go off the top of the deck, and we're going to find an egg source. So there we go. The Princess Stephanie's Astrapia comes up. So yeah, very, very nice power. That one, you get to pick another player. You both gain an egg, of course, in 1v1. You don't get that choice. You basically just give your opponent an egg and you get yourself an egg. So it's not quite as good as something like a chipping sparrow or like a pleated woodpecker, but for me in this position, I still think it's really, really good. Again, hits the bonus card and just sorts out the egg problem, which is definitely a problem at this point that needs solving. So definitely will be keen to get that down at some point, but we've just got so many good birds. All three of these birds, I want to be playing them. It's just about finding the right order to be doing them, and yeah, just how to really get everything down in the most efficient way in order to help me progress. So we're going to play the blue throat first. What I'm thinking is I can lay eggs here. I'm going to give out a food, but it's going to help me get the Astrapia down. So that's the idea. We'll lay eggs here. We'll have a little bit of think on the food we give out. You know, now my opponent has got their chipping sparrow in the forest. They've really built out their food production. It is a stronger action for them now. They get more food. They obviously get the eggs as well. So I don't mind so much just about giving out a little bit of food. And certainly with this kind of bird that eats berries, I can give out a berry. Very, very useless food, or one of the less useful foods, shall we say. Especially now with nectar. Everyone just wants nectar all the time. So giving out something that isn't nectar is maybe not quite such a big deal as it used to be. So yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a think on this turn, but yeah, ultimately we are going to be laying eggs. There's a part of me that's thinking maybe I'm going to be drawing cards. You know, just sort of planning out again, thinking about the sequence of turns. If I lay eggs and play the Princess Stephanie, what's my next turn after that look like? Am I going to be gaining food? Well, what do I tuck? You know, do I want to tuck this white stalk? Probably not. So there's part of me that's again thinking, if I'm going to have to draw cards at some point, maybe I draw cards now, because maybe I get something better. Maybe just by delaying that one turn of giving out the food to my opponent, just slows them down a little bit. Having said that, they do have a lot of food in their supply. So yeah, I think I'm going to lay eggs here, but I might change my mind. I might go back on it and go and draw cards, because again, like round one, I think just planning out your turns and thinking, okay, for this, you know, final few turns in the round, sometimes you're looking at an end of round goal. Should probably touch on that here. We're not going to qualify for that. This could be quite a tricky one to hit, I think, the white and no powers end of round goal. But yeah, in this case, we've just not really found any, unfortunately. So do lay eggs, and we do give out a nectar. So yeah, all that talk about giving out the berry, not quite happening here. I'm thinking maybe what my thought process was here is actually I want to get as much nectar spent in this forest as possible. At the moment, I've only got 2. And so really that does kind of limit me in terms of what I could do there in terms of trying to push for the nectar win. Of course, my opponent spent 1, but they do have 4 in their supply, and maybe they're not going to be able to use it all. You know, maybe they're only planning on playing 1 more bird. Maybe they need to draw cards or lay eggs or not have some way of spending that. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a gamble. Maybe in hindsight one I shouldn't have taken, but all kind of depends a little bit on what bird my opponent is going to play. But as I say, we've got some options, but we know pretty much we have to play something now. We've committed by getting the nectar. Of course, that will get discarded at the end of the round if we haven't already used it. But yeah, it's almost certainly going to be getting the Princess Stephanie down and drawing cards. And, you know, we set ourselves up nicely going into round 3. We're going first in that round. So if something good does come up in the tray, we don't even have to go and draw cards. We can use the tucking power to pick that up. So in the end, my opponent does play a double play. So they do use up plenty of their food. So yeah, nectar maybe coming back to bite me a little bit. But the Princess Stephanie goes down. So yeah, as I say, feeling good. And the score's looking strong. Nearly 50 points already. It has been a very fluid start, I think. Everything kind of went into motion very nicely, and just little things like playing the blue throat and then being able to lay the eggs and get the food to play the birds I want at the same time. That has helped out a lot. So yeah, I think normally if you're going for an engine approach, whether it's a forest or a grasslands or a wetland engine, if you can get that pretty much set up in those first 2 rounds, I don't think you've done too much wrong there. So yeah, my forest is pretty much done here at the end of this second round. And we're going to go a little bit off-piste here. We are going to take food. So yeah, I'm assuming we're going to skip the housefinch here, because I think this white stalk does have to go down. But I think maybe this is just a little bit of thinking ahead and, you know, play the white stalk, perhaps in the grasslands, perhaps in the wetlands before drawing cards, just to make sure I get that extra card is going to help out there. So we will see. As I say, we do lose that end of round. Not too much I could have done. We'll come here into round number 3. And we have something in the tray that could work here in the common goldeneye. Now, it is a little bit late, but it is going to help get some eggs. We've already got a couple of cavity nest birds down. And there is another one in the tray. Not the hermit thrush, the green woodpecker that I am potentially looking at here as an option. with these 2 end of round goals coming up. So birds in 1 row, birds with no eggs does qualify for both of those. But before that happens, we're going to play our white stalk. So definitely a little bit of a gamble. You know, I'm sort of thinking, surely my opponent's not going to pick those up. But we will see. I think for sure me getting my hands on those is going to be nice. But of course, getting the white stalk down first in this wetlands, yeah, it just allows me to get the extra cards. So should touch on maybe the decision between the grasses and the wetlands. As I say, could have gone either way. I think if I didn't have the egg bird in the forest, I would be more inclined to go in the grasslands and legs a bit more. You know, use this as the way of getting the eggs and the cards at the same time. But I think here just the volume of cards I'm going to need means it has to go in the wetlands. I just don't think really I would have been able to use the white stalk on its own in the grasslands and get enough cards to be able to work with. So yeah, we are going to draw, and the heron is doing its job. So it's had a few misses, not actually had any caches up until now in this game, but it gets 2 at once. So that is definitely welcome. Very much enjoy seeing that. And yeah, the white stalk on that reset of the trade didn't get us anything great, but to be honest, in this situation, that's fine. I don't really have enough turns to be able to draw cards again. And I need something to tuck under the house finch, so this definitely works. And again, we're sort of finding ourselves in this scenario where we've got a few turns left in the round and we've got an end of round goal to contend with. We've now maybe got a teal power to contend with. So we've got to start thinking, we've got to start planning out these final few turns. What is the approach going to be? So, as I say, GoldenEye, almost certainly going to be playing that. A little bit on the late side, but it is going to be very, very helpful just in getting hold of those eggs. Just to be able to play birds, you know, I'm only getting 1 a turn in this forest, so it's not great. And definitely will need a little bit of support, but yeah, at the very least, this is going to help again just for the tempo. Being able to get the egg at the same time as gaining the food to play these birds is helpful. So yeah, looking a little bit at that titmouse, maybe giving me an option against the woodpecker. Because the woodpecker might not be needed. We're already looking strong in the forest here, 4 birds. Of course, the titmouse would be a 5th. But there is always that kind of nagging feeling in the back of your head where you think, what if my opponent is going to go and tie me there? You know, they've got 2 habitats with 3 birds in each. There's a very realistic chance they could be doing another double play somewhere, or just getting more birds down in one of those habitats. And if I can avoid that, play something like this green woodpecker, which again is going to help for that last end of round goal. And that could definitely be key. But yeah, I think just we're going to commit here. 3 turns left. We have got to be getting these birds down. So there goes the grey-headed mannequin. We saw that earlier. That's going to be very nice for my opponent for sure. And we are going to be laying eggs here. So yeah, if I do want to be playing all these birds, I'm going to need the egg and I'm going to need the food as well. So again, just using this blue throat kind of at opportune times has been the key here. Thinking about the laying eggs, this time actually we decide to play it a little bit more smart and we are going to hold off. So I think this is what I was sort of alluding to earlier when we were looking at, you know, playing the Princess Stephanie or playing the White Stork and the right sequence to do that. I think here just by delaying that food, and maybe my opponent wants to give me an egg. You know, I don't know what their next turn looks like. Maybe they're going to lay eggs and use the Meadowlark now. And that might just help me. Maybe I save a turn from having to lay eggs and maybe I could take food instead. But we will see on that. Just depends a little bit on what they do. But we've always got that backup plan, as I say, of maybe having to lay eggs. And we might have to, because they don't lay eggs, they play killdeer. So yeah, we talked about maybe some of the birds we're playing being a little bit late. But killdeer, even with just 7 turns left, that does go down. So certainly expect my opponent to be hammering the grasslands a little bit here. So I'm very grateful that I've got this blue throat down to be able to capture the eggs there. But we are going to still lay eggs on the blue throat now. This is, again, a little bit of planning ahead, a little bit of thinking, a little bit of paying attention to the end of round goals. I want to concentrate all of my eggs kind of in the one place if I can. So, of course, this GoldenEye is going to capture some just through that teal power. But if I can have as many birds as possible with no eggs, just gives me the most options available for that final round. So we lay eggs, and this time we take the berries. So maybe learning from the potential mistake I made earlier, or maybe just the lack of paying attention that I made earlier and giving out the nectar. This time we do. yeah, just give out something like a berry, which in theory is less useful. We will see, depending on what my opponent is going to want to play. And of course, they can still throw it, in this grasslands. The way they've got it set up, maybe they have some extra food left over at the end of the game, and they can always discard that for some more eggs. But yeah, we've set ourselves up here in a pretty good position. We can play this woodpecker. And not only is that going to cement the end of round goal, not only is that going to set up well for the next end of round goal, but it is another cavity nest. So that is going to help us get us 3 eggs off the golden eye this round. And of course 3 at least in that last round as well. So all feeling good. Just the only thing that maybe I'm not feeling too good about is working out what I'm going to do in the final round, because this is definitely the point, again, where you want to be planning and you want to be having, some good options. You want to have stuff in your hand at this point. I've not really drawn cards that many times in this game because actually I've been finding good stuff whenever I've been drawing, and I've just wanted to play it. So they play the Cedar Wax with my opponents. They did use the berry, perhaps, for that. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. And yeah, winning the end of round goal, very, very nice. As I say, maybe didn't need the woodpecker, but maybe it just, put my opponent off doing something that would have gone for the end of round. So always kind of hard to tell in those situations. But yeah, coming here into the final round, we've got some good options. Good options in the trace. Certainly that flycatcher wouldn't be too bad. Does kind of ruin the end of round goal a little bit, but might still be useful for some eggs. And it's another cavity nest. We've also got the ibis, so I need 1 more platform nest bird. I've only got 3 down. So getting a 4th one would be worth 4 points. So that's definitely one I've got my eye on. And yeah, that reed warbler could be a potential double play option as well. Goes very nicely in the wetlands. It counts as another bird with no eggs on it. So yeah, definitely one I'm going to be looking at. But almost certainly going to have to draw cards once this round. I can't just take food forever. As good a turn as it would be, it's, not great to just take a load of food and then not have a use for it at the end of the game. So yeah, I'm sort of imagining that maybe we're going to be drawing food twice, we're going to be drawing cards once and playing birds twice. That sort of feels like, what could be a good plan here in this final round. But it all comes down to what we're able to find. So we'll kind of wait and see on that. And yeah, we're just going to take food here. So we get our hands on some nectar. That could be key. Maybe looking at the end of round goal as well with this Princess Stephanie, laying the egg still on the blue throat. Just trying to sort of, again, concentrate all of the eggs in one place. And then, yeah, we do go ahead and grab the ibis. So, again, kind of like the white stalk, we've got a decision to make here. Where does it go? Does it go grasses or wetlands? I think it probably is going to go wetlands here. Just again, for the same reasons I talked about with the white stalk earlier. I need more cards. I need to see more things. I need to give myself more options. And that ibis is going to look through the discard pile. So there is potential maybe if my opponent at some point discarded something good. Maybe I discarded something good earlier and I've just completely forgotten about it. But we'll kind of wait and see. And worst case scenario, if we don't get anything good, we can just use the other option on that power and tuck the card and get a point. So yeah, options open for us. But as I said, at the very least, we are going to get the 5 points and we're going to get the extra 4 off the platform builder. So opponent is still laying eggs here. They're kind of just egg spamming, which is sort of catching me a little bit by surprise and maybe sort of ruining my plan of filling up on this blue throat because we're almost running out of space there. And I really, really don't want to be missing out on the free eggs. So I'm sort of just trying to work out, see what my opponent's doing, count their egg space and think actually, realistically, how many more times can they lay eggs? Is this going to become a problem on the blue throat? And do I actually need to clear an egg off there when playing the ibis? And the conclusion I came to was that I probably should, just out of precaution. So yeah, goldeneye is going to be crucial. We will need to clear at least 1 more egg off that. Of course, we're going to get 3 eggs through the cavity nest birds we've already got down, and maybe if we find a 4th, that could come into play as well. But yeah, I'm sort of expecting that at the very least I'm going to play Sunbird. There is the Grey Goose to the tray. There are many, many worse options than that. 7 points. Could easily get that down just from 1 turn taking food. So yeah, it's an option, and it would clear out, of course, the 2 golden eye spaces. So we'll kind of wait and see. But as I say, going to be drawing cards this next turn. And then penultimate turn we take food, and then we play whatever bird we found. So yeah, hopefully something big points is going to come down. Maybe a nice bonus card bird, wouldn't say no. Not really seen any of those. My opponent's got a couple more bonus cards than me. So that definitely is a bit of a concern, but we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to play it by ear. But it is always a little bit nerve-wracking. Coming into these final 3 turns with no cards in hand, I'm not really sure what you're going to find. So opponent's still laying eggs. Still giving out the freebies on the medal arc, so definitely glad I did clear off the blue throat just to give me a little bit more room to work with. And yeah, we're going to draw cards. We're going to see what we find. Nothing too amazing, so we do look at that Grey Lag Goose. As I say, as the contingency, 7 points, certainly not too bad of an option. We do still have this Grey Butcherbird now that we've picked up. That could also work, could go in the grasslands. Maybe you save an egg. So Grey Lag Goose is certainly only 1 point better. And yeah, in the end, we do leave the Grey Lag Goose there. And sort of regretting that a little bit, but it is what it is. We didn't really like the options there from the Ibis. And we like these options a lot more. I would really like the Kakapo here. And there's a part of me that's thinking, I have to take that just to stop my opponent from having it. So, yeah, would have been great for me to play if I hadn't already filled up my forest. But it is definitely a shame that I can't play it. But as I say, got a block. And probably the one I'm actually looking at is the Ibis. And I'm just hoping my opponent doesn't pick that up. Because, of course, I can pick that when I take food. There's now loads of nectar in the feeder. Thanks to the heron, which did get a fish, by the way, as well. Very, very welcome. But yeah, we can go and take food. And maybe the nectar comes into play as well. You know, I'm sort of looking at this nectar, winning in the forest. Hopefully that remains the case. Losing in the grasslands, not too much I can do about that. But still winning in the wetlands. And it's just about working out, okay, my opponent takes food there. They've now got 3 nectar. Where are they going to spend that? You know, I've got to be in a position where I can react. And very fortunately, taking food here, we do get the 3 nectar back ourselves. So yeah, they could potentially play it in the forest. They could tie me. They might play in the wetlands. They would then be leading, but of course, we could just react straight away with the Ibis anyway. There is a little bit of thinking here to do on the Princess Stephanie. In theory, it doesn't make a difference because both players gain an egg. There's maybe a world in which they wanted to lay eggs again and they run out of egg space, but you know, both players gain a point. It's not going to make a difference to the result. We decide to use it anyway. We are looking quite safe, I think, on this end of round goal, especially if we are going to play the Ibis as well. So, yeah, again, could have taken a gamble here, could have gambled off the top of the deck. But when there's an 8-point bird in the tray, I think that's a pretty safe pick. So we are going to go for that. And yeah, if we had gambled, we would have only found the Acorn Woodpecker, which definitely would not have worked. So, yeah, through all the uncertainty and through all the not really being sure how this endgame was going to play out, it sort of worked. It sort of worked. The forest has been strong, but, you know, for a late game engine, only getting those net 3 points, it's not really enough. So you do kind of rely on finding big point birds to play. And as I say, getting 8 points here from this Ibis and being able to swing the nectar race back in my favour. My opponent did play a bird in the wetlands and looked like they were going to snatch it off me, but yeah, we are able to get it back there. And we get our 3 eggs off the gold knight, so very, very nice. We do win the end of round, which is always the aim. So we will take that and we come here into the game end power. So as I say, grey-headed mannequin for my opponent. And they've got 3 berries, and I'm definitely worried about what is going to go down here. This could well be a big point play. Still got room in that forest, still got room in the grasslands as well. But yeah, when it's 3 berries, there's only 1 bird on my mind, and that is the Blythe Hornbill. So very, very nice play for my opponent at the end there, getting lots and lots of points. But as I say, we were able to at least pick up 2 of the nectar races. And I think in a 1v1, if you can win 2, even if you lose the 3rd, you still come out on top there. So we will take that and we will go here into the scores. And as I say, we are all going to be about the tucks and the cashes at the end. We've just got to try and hold our own through the birds and through the bonus cards, because my opponent, they did have quite a few bonus cards there, and 18 points is very, very strong. So with the end of round goals, we drag it back a little bit. And with the eggs, we don't have too many. So we are behind here coming into these last few categories. But as I say, 15 caches, super strong. We have some tucks, and thankfully with the nectar win, we hold on for the win there, 117 to 111. So yeah, very, very close game. Only 6 points in it. Definitely could have gone either way. As I say, just not really having too many big point birds there. Definitely a slow end. My opponent had a really, really strong end game and some really strong bonus cards. Mechanical Engineer, very nice. Maxed out Enclosure Builder as well. And even 3 off the Forest Data Analyst. So that was where their strength was. And as I say, that end game for them, just egg spamming, almost like it's not Oceania anymore. And the Blythe Hornbill for a really, really big point play. But we will take that. A win is a win, as close as that might have been. And it gives us a 1-0 advantage in this best-of-3 game. So, yeah, we're going to go there into Game 2. And the equation is going to be pretty simple. We've got to win, and we'll get through into a semi-final. And if we lose, we're going to go through to a Game 3. So, I'm going to try and get that one up for you guys as soon as possible. If you want to see it, please do hit the subscribe button. Please do follow along on the channel. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you hopefully for that one very, very soon.